It is not any form of protestation anymore. It is simply obstruction, it is simply unlawful, it is simply hooliganism. And that is what we saw tonight during the debate of the National Resource Fund bill. Now, we had tonight ought to have been a landmark night in the legislative history of our country, because the Guyanese Parliament was to debate two of the most seminal pieces of legislation for the developmental trajectory of our country: the Local Content Bill and the Natural Resource Fund Bill. The Local Content Bill, the opposition, they came with each of their speakers, though they supported the bill, they wanted the bill to go to a select committee. Only last night, they submitted to us a series of amendments, 14 amendments, I believe. We accepted about 80% of those amendments and incorporated it into our bill. Yet they insisted that we must go to a select committee. Now, if you want to go to a select committee, you have to make out a case to go to a select committee. So you have to show us what sections or clauses in a bill you have a problem with, and what are the adjustments you would like to see made to those clauses, and say why, the merits and demerits of your arguments, why the clause in its current formulation is not the best possible way of expressing what is it that the clause intends to express. You didn't hear any argument of that type from APNU+AFC. Simply this rhetoric repeat that we must go to a select committee, go to a select committee. Go to a select committee for what? What are we going to a select committee for? I asked that question repeatedly. Are we going to a select committee merely to go to the select committee, or we are going there to do something? And if we are going there to do something, tell us what is it that you want the bill to go there for. They can't articulate intelligently any basis for wanting the bill to go to the select committee. In fact, many of the arguments that they raised suggest to me and suggest to all of us on the government side that they did not read the bill. They did not read that bill before they came to the parliament. And that is the type of ineptitude and incompetence that one must decry. You are a leader of the country. You are a parliamentarian. Two of the most important pieces of legislation are going to be debated in the parliament, and you have not read the legislation, and still you want to participate in the debate and make a constructive contribution to the debate. And more so, you want the government to adjourn its business, put its developmental agenda on hold while you take the bill to a select committee, not being able to tell us why you want to go to the select committee or provide any sound basis for going to the select committee. So those were the arguments that permeated the local content bill. So Todd, I will pause here to invite your comments on the local content bill, and then we will deal with the disruptions.
Well, thank you very much, Attorney General. I know that government has worked tirelessly and has had wide consultation to ensure that it can bring benefits to the people of Guyana. As the President has always mentioned, that oil and gas is not our primary means for success in Guyana. What we're going to do is to focus on our traditional sectors and to diversify those sectors using the revenues from oil. And to do that, we have to be able to have a local economy that is competitive, that is innovative, and that is able to build capacity to meet the demands that the sector, this new sector, oil and gas sector, will demand of us. And that is why it was a landmark bill today, as the AG would have mentioned, to bring that level of readiness for Guyana. As we articulated in Parliament, it's not a perfect bill, but it is an excellent bill. A bill that will set the stage for the advancement of local content in Guyana. Indeed, we don't think that the opposition read the bill. We don't think that they participated meaningfully in the process. And we strongly believe that their only intention is to disrupt the flow of government's business in the National Assembly, business of governing this country for their own benefit, so that they can show that development is not taking place. We know what our mandate is. We know what the people voted for. We presented our manifesto, it was accepted, and we're here to represent the people. And that is what we intend to do for the people of Guyana.
We must make the point that for 5 years, they did not pass any type of legislation in relation to local content. Guyanese are standing by and are looking at foreigners coming into the country and buying up properties left, right and center, and getting jobs and getting contracts with these oil companies and contractors in the oil sector to the exclusion of Guyanese. Every day that we wait, we are losing opportunities. Guyana and Guyanese companies are losing opportunities. This bill this bill mandates the oil sector to hire Guyanese and to retain the services of Guyanese companies in 40-something areas of economic activities. Right now, we don't have a law that says that 1% must come from Guyana. This law in certain instances mandate these companies to hire 100% Guyanese. And if we are to take that to the select committee as they wanted us to take it, then for how long it stays there, Guyanese continue to be shafted. Guyanese continue to be excluded. These companies continue to not have a legal obligation to retain Guyanese goods, retain Guyanese services, purchase Guyanese goods, and hire Guyanese. So, we sent several bills to the Select Committee. We sent a Natural Resource Fund bill, the Natural Resource Commission bill during the last Parliament. It never came out. Went to a Select Committee, never came out. We sent an education bill, it never came out. We sent a food security bill, never came out of the Select Committee. They wanted to send this. And that is why I continue to say, is either these people are severely lacking in intellect, or they simply do not have Guyanese interest at heart. In fact, they are enemies to their own people. Because every day that passes and that bill is not enacted, Guyanese lose. We are the only people who are losing all the time. Hence, we decided that we must pass this bill swiftly. And Todd, being a person who was integrally involved in the crafting of the bill, this bill went through several incarnations of consultations. The consultation started with a policy document, and a team was appointed that carried out widespread consultations across the country with every major sector. Then we had direct interactions as we were formulating the bill with various sectors across the country Today I had the misfortune of reading and responding to the Bar Association saying that they were not consulted. And it's unfortunate because that's a blatant lie. The Bar Association was being consulted from since March this year, and we have documents that we can produce to show the engagements that we have had with the Bar Association. As of yesterday, the Bar Association was in consultation with our drafting team. And today, they take umbrage to a statement that I made that they were consulted, claiming that they were not. This bill, we consulted every major sector in this country. We consulted the oil sector itself, the operators within the sector, and the major companies operating and the licensees and so on. Up to 5 o'clock this morning, we were still drafting. We were dealing with Patterson's amendments. We were dealing with amendments that came in from the insurance sector. We were dealing with amendments that came in from the accountancy profession sector. Up to 5 this morning is when we completed the drafting of this bill. So, why delay it further? Everyone had their say in it. We even took, as I indicated, 80% of the opposition's recommendations. But they don't have another amendment. They can't identify another amendment, yet they want the bill to go to a select committee. Puerile reasoning. We rejected that completely. We promised the people of Guyana that before the end of this year, the president made that promise, the vice president made that promise, our government made that promise. By the end of this year, 2 bills will be passed. The local content bill and the natural resource fund bill. And we are proud to say that we have discharged that promise as we normally do. Whenever we make a promise, we keep to it and we deliver upon that promise. So, as of tomorrow, when the bill will be assented, by the following day, it will be advertised in the Gazette or published in the Gazette, and it becomes law. And every operator within the oil and gas sector becomes bound by that legislation. And they have to start to implement it. It means, as a matter of law, Guyanese must get jobs with the oil sector. As a matter of law, Guyanese must get contracts with the oil sector. And the amount or the level is specified in 43 different sectors. So that bill only has Guyanese as its priority interest. And any attempt to delay and stymie that bill further would be to the detriment of our national patrimony and our people. So that is why we did not accede to the request. As I said, a case was not made out for the bill to be taken to a special select committee. So the local content bill was passed, and I'm pleased to say that in 43 sectors, Guyanese, in the rental of buildings, in transportation services, in insurance services, in the legal profession, in the medical profession, in engineering, in construction, in trucking, in a whole set of cleaning, sanitation, janitorial, food, restaurant, a whole set of services. As a matter of law, these companies and these operators must patronize Guyanese businesses and Guyanese companies. And look at the ridiculous nature of some of the amendments that they proposed. These guys, I don't know, as I keep saying, I don't know whether it's ineptitude or whether they simply hate Guyanese. Patterson wants us to define Guyanese to be Guyanese by birth only. How myopic can you get? The Constitution says that you acquire citizenship by birth, you acquire citizenship by descent, you acquire citizenship by naturalization under the Citizenship Act. and you acquire citizenship by marriage. 4 instances by which you acquire citizenship. They want to exclude all the Guyanese who are not born in Guyana. So your parents are Guyanese, but you were born in New York. They want to exclude you completely from the oil industry in Guyana. So they are right there ostracizing and disenfranchising, for want of a better word, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Guyanese. And they don't have no problem with that. They don't see the discriminatory nature. They don't see the illegality. They don't see the unconstitutionality. They don't see the manifest unfairness in that kind of categorization. And these are the people who want to rule a country. They want to govern a country with that type of mentality. It's dangerous. It's really, really dangerous if these people are ever going to get anywhere close to the reins of government again. So I think we have said enough on the local content bill, and I want to move the discussion now over to the Natural Resource Fund bill and the mayhem that ensued when that bill was being debated. So, Todd, you will recall that the no confidence motion was passed in December of 2018. The no confidence motion was pronounced upon by the Caribbean Court of Justice in the case of Christopher Ram and the Attorney General and Bharat Jagdev and the Attorney General. The CCJ said that upon the passage of the no confidence motion, Cabinet ought to resign in accordance with the Constitution, and elections are to be held within 3 months in accordance with the Constitution, and that Parliament should only sit for the purpose of facilitating the elections or for extending the elections to a date beyond 3 months. The CCJ said upon the passage of the no confidence motion, the government is in caretaker mode, and therefore cannot exercise executive powers as they would have exercised prior to the no confidence motion. That essentially, unless Parliament will sit to adjudicate or determine an election issue, or adjudicate or deliberate upon a possible extension of time beyond that 3 months as stipulated by the Constitution for elections to be held, Parliament stand dissolved. That is what a combination of provisions in the Constitution concatenate to conclude that Parliament is dissolved. These jagabats in January, 2 weeks or 3 weeks after the no confidence motion, sought to debate that bill on the 3rd day of January. And pass that bill. Completely illegal. So we decided that we said that we will not recognize any transaction done by the government after the no confidence motion was passed that was outside of a caretaker mode, or anything done in the National Assembly after the no confidence motion would have passed. We said that repeatedly, that we will not recognize anything emanating after the no confidence motion. And that bill fell squarely into that category. So as a matter of principle, we decided that we are not going to debate, that we are not going to accept that bill. That bill was unlawfully passed, unconstitutionally passed. And we decided to repeal that bill. And the truth of the matter is that a large part of that bill is what we used to form the basis of this bill that we have tabled. But again, Todd, they did not read the bill. and I am challenging them. I could go. They may read it now after we hear this
After
program.
hearing this program, of course.
But on the floor, I don't think that they were equipped to debate that bill. They don't understand the concepts because it's not an easy bill. It's a highly technical bill. The language in the bill is highly fiscal and of a financial nature. The governance structure is a complex one. The measurements used to measure revenue receipts and revenue disbursements are complex financial theories and estimations. So it's not an easy bill to read. And we know that easy bills, they don't read. And even if they read them, they don't understand them. More so this one, which was a big bill and a one of some complexity. So a lot of the things what they are speaking about, they don't know. What we have done, apart from retaining a large number of sections, over 75% of their bill we kept, and we changed a couple of important things in terms of the governance structure. Let me highlight a couple. One, the fund. This bill establishes a fund, the Petroleum Fund, and it is this fund that proceeds from the oil industry will go under our arrangements with the oil companies and will be disbursed, managed, spent, audited and accounted for in accordance with this bill. So this bill governs how the funds are thing. They had a Minister of Finance who was controlling the fund. We changed that. We put a board to manage the fund who will act only upon the general guidelines, policy directives of the minister. Now tell me, let us just pause there. How can that be bad compared to what you had? You had a singular minister who was managing this fund. Now you have a board. One member is drawn from the private sector, one member drawn from the professions, one member drawn from, I believe, the religious organizations, one member drawn from labor. You have a board of that kind replacing a minister to manage the fund, and you find that objectionable? You find that objectionable? That is what I'm saying. They did not read the bill. They listened to what people write about the bill and they parrot that. Yeah. They simply parrot that dumbly and they become the sudden authority on it. The other major issue is they're speaking about thieving. Every single cent that is deposited in that fund, when we remove it from the fund, it goes into the consolidated fund. And then it is transmitted out of the consolidated fund through an appropriation act by the parliament. So nobody can go into that fund and take out money without parliamentary approval. And you can only use money out of that fund for specified purposes too. To support the budget on developmental projects and in areas of natural disaster. Other than that, the fund, you save it. The thing is kept in the fund. The other, so where the thieving will take place, I don't understand. If we will thief is that the same way that money comes out of the treasury? If we borrow money from wherever, it goes into the consolidated fund and then it comes back out by an appropriation process by the parliament. Also, every single dollar that is received will be published in the official gazette in a report prepared by the minister. Also, the board prepares a report and the minister has to lay that report in the National Assembly annually in relation to the fund. So, and then there is another public oversight committee that will also oversight the operations of the fund. I think the leader of the opposition has a nominee there. Civil society has a nominee there. The organized labor, again, I believe, has a nominee there. The central bank, I think, has a nominee there. So you have another public, and they also are preparing a report, and they are laying that report directly to the National Assembly.
Yeah.
Not to the minister, they are laying that report directly to the National Assembly. So I don't understand where this thieving will take place. How? Where this thieving will take place, but they keep telling themselves this, and I see Nandlall talking about this. And the other thing I hear they keep saying is that we have removed all the penalties. We have removed all the penalties from the bill. It is in fact, we have increased the penalties. We have increased the penalties, yet they are accusing us of of increasing, deleting penalties from the thing. The other important issue is that the entire fund is required to be audited by the Auditor General, who is to use monies to retain an international recognized auditing firm to assist him. Again, how can this be stolen? And the last important point is that we have put a schedule to say how much money will be drawn down from the fund every year. So from now, you know how much money we will draw down in the year 2025. You know that from now. They are glorifying their bill, but their bill had no way of knowing. The Minister of Finance, in a weird nebulous formulation of language, would have determined what is the fiscal estimate required for any given financial year. What the hell is that? Yeah. How can you determine how much money, public funds to use in such a capricious formulation? Arbitrary formulation. Here it is, we have a schedule that tells you X amount will come down here and X amount will come down there, and it's fixed and it's in the law. So you know the amount of money that is to be generated. Yeah. So those are the main tenets of this bill, and it is unfortunate that we had such opposition. I'm talking now opposition from civil society. But look at the behavior today of the opposition in the House. I will pause there for you to talk a little about that.
Well, I think you've laid it out well for the viewing public on the characteristics and the behavior of the opposition and how they approach development and their responsibility as an opposition. I think they've done an injustice to the people of Guyana, to themselves and to the party, and they are very divisive in the manner in which they operate. It is difficult to work with an opposition that does not respect the Constitution, that does not respect the people, and does not respect that noble house that we operate in called the National Assembly. We are there to do the people's business. We are there to articulate the way forward based on our national development agenda. The opposition is there to obstruct that, and by using every means available to them. The AG laid the case out, the kinds of work and the quality of work that went into the bill, drawing from what they would have submitted as well, but to put it in a way in which there are layers, checks and balances, and also penalties. A bill that is transparent, a bill that the people would benefit from, and not politics. And as we mentioned, we wanted to remove politics from all of the machineries to ensure that the people derive the benefits. And this bill is intended to do just so. And that is why it's a landmark day for us here in Guyana, and by extension the Caribbean. So the opposition came to Parliament today prepared to disrupt the business of Parliament and to prevent that bill from being passed. The hooliganism, the lawlessness, the disrespect for the House, the disrespect for the colleagues on this side, the side of government, the disrespect for the clerk and the members who work within the assembly. It was distasteful. It was unacceptable. But we're not surprised. We're not surprised because we understand the DNA of the APNU+AFC. It's a coalition that does not respect laws, rules, and more so they do not respect the people who they claim to represent. And that is distasteful, it is unacceptable, and every Guyanese, even the Guyanese who support the APNU+AFC, should condemn them in the strongest terms. That is not the representation that you want. That is not the representation that will lead Guyana into a better future. And that is not a representation that you would want for a political party in opposition who is vying for political power. So, I have to go back to you.
There are certain rules in the Parliament that you don't transgress. Though one is expected, or we have seen in different parts of the world, parliamentarians get excited and they may become angry in their outbursts and unconventional behavior. You don't find parliamentarians coming into the well of the Parliament. That's a prohibited area. These guys descended upon the well of the area. They approached the speaker and they grabbed the mace. I think they may have broken the mace from the speaker. Annette Ferguson fell flat on her ass in the Parliament, on the floor of the Parliament, as she attempted to grab that mace. What kind of behavior is this? 2 or 3 of them tumbled down, women, in an attempt to grab the mace, and they are going forward. Because, you know why? The men are not going forward. They're going forward, so that if anybody touch them, you have this big accusation of you assaulting a woman or you're beating a woman. So the women are going forward with the hooliganism, grabbing the mace and assaulting the speaker and assaulting the staff of the Parliament. That I am hoping and praying that the speaker will reprimand them accordingly and appropriately. That kind of behavior cannot be tolerated. Cherry Jagan was banned from speaking in the Parliament for several years because he disrespected the speaker. I have never seen this kind of disrespect to a speaker as I have seen done to Mansour Nadir tonight. And disrespect to the institution, the mace. The mace is the epitome of power in the Parliament. They knocked down the mace flat and tried to run away with it.
Yeah.
And when the staff of the Parliament, a young Afro-Guyanese, held on to the mace, one of the MPs of APNU, a female, called him a house Negro. We have that on tape. Calling the guy a house Negro simply because the guy was doing his job of protecting the mace from their hooliganism. These people, Guyanese have to recognize, if they don't see this by now, and this, I don't know on what basis would you want to support a grouping that is so disgraceful, so common in their conduct? Why would you ever want to support them as leaders? Guyanese really have to think. Yeah. We need to do some kind of assessment. And I am told that this is the new leadership. Amanda Walton Desir, when she was leaving the National Assembly, She said this is not business as usual. It will not be business as usual. Well, I don't know if this is the Northern leadership and they believe that they are a bunch of bad people and they will resort to violence and they will break down and burn down. Well, we on this side are ready. And we want to make that very clear. We on this side have never run away from a battle. We are prepared to deal with whatever they want to deliver. We have survived it all and we are still here in government. Since 1992, well, not since 1992, since 1963, they have been using violence as a political weapon. And Cherry Jagan Party is still in government. We are still in government and we're going to be here in government for a very, very, very long time once you continue to behave like that because you are not lending leadership to the people. But continue. Continue. We will continue to be in government and you will continue to be behaving in that disgraceful way that you have displayed to the world today. I am told also that I believe Norton may have advised them to misbehave because he wants to get in the parliament. And you know the head of the list doesn't want to put him, doesn't want to recall anybody. So he was hoping that Manzoor, the speaker, would have dismissed or expelled somebody so that they would have a vacancy and he might get in. But there are other ways. He can go and talk to Mr. Granger, who I understand is head of the list, and he can find himself there and we can deal in the parliament. There is no need for the hooliganism. But importantly, Todd, the bill was passed.
Yes.
I see them issue a statement late tonight to say that the mace was not there and we were not in our seats when the votes were taken and therefore the bill is not properly passed. Nonsense. I saw the mace. I saw the speaker having the mace.
Yes.
Right? The speaker is the repository of the mace.
We were in our seats.
We were in our seats. They were not in their seats. They were not in their seats. So they couldn't vote. If one of us was in our seat, let me say one was in our seat, if one vote is enough to carry the bill.
Exactly.
So it's absolute nonsense. Nobody voted against the bill. So in any event, let them go to the court and challenge it. They say that their bill is the law because their bill was not repealed by our bill because our bill was not properly passed. Absolute foolishness. Absolute foolishness. So, Guyanese, you have a government who, as you are seeing, is pushing the developmental agenda of this country. We will not stop. You know what their big problem is? And civil society big problem is because for the first time when this natural resource bill is passed, the government will be able to draw down from that fund over 600,000 United States dollars. That would be the largest inflow into the consolidated fund in the history of Guyana. And that is what they can't understand. That is what they can't handle. That is why they're shouting about, they're running mad. And you know what we are going to do with that money? That money will fund the budget. And that is why you will see, by far, I know every budget the Minister of Finance normally say is the largest budget ever. But this will be by far the largest budget ever. We have 22 hospitals that we have to build across this country. We have to build the highway. We have the highway to Parika from the bridge. We have to build the Demerara Harbour Bridge. We have to build the railway embankment highway. We have to build the Diamond to Soosdijk highway. We have to build all the infrastructure that we promised, concrete drains right across the length and breadth of this country. We need that money to spend to better the lives of Guyanese people. They want us to keep the money in a fund. There's a grouping who believes that they are the conscience of society. They are the repository of Guyanese conscience. And they must tell you when to spend money and when not to spend money. Does it make sense, Todd, for you to have $10 million in the bank but your children can't get food? Does it make sense that your children can't go to school, but you got $100 billion in the bank? That is the kind of mentality we are seeing. We want to use the money to develop this country, but they are stumbling blocks to development. This grouping calling themselves civil society. They want to govern without being elected. I don't have a problem if they want to govern. Go and get elected. Yeah. We were elected by the people of this country, and we put to these people, to the Guyanese and the elections, a developmental agenda. We say we are going to create 50,000 jobs in 5 years. We are now increasing that. We are saying 100,000 jobs in 5 years. That is what we promise these people. We promise to transform Guyana. I don't know this grouping what they promise and who vote for them. We were elected to govern, and govern we will. Govern we will. So, while it is important to have conversations with civil society and we must consult with different organizations, we must not abdicate governmental responsibilities and governmental power. We must not abdicate the responsibility that the people have given to us by that ballot. We must not violate that confidence that they have placed in us when they give us that ballot in our favor to come to government and govern. That is our first duty. And that is a duty that the People's Progressive Party Civic Administration is prepared to discharge come hell or high water. So if they think that little runner-up, that kind of nonsensical behavior in the parliament scares anybody, you gotta come really better than that. If you believe running down the streets and trying to create violence and mayhem will stop the developmental agenda of the PPP or will cause us to cower in some corner, well then you're smoking something that's radically cheap and dangerous for your health. So Todd, yes, I invite you now to have your final comments. I think I've said enough.
I think we've made the case to the people of Guyana. I think they understand clearly our purpose for being in government and our mandate, the development agenda that we've promised, and the fact that we're delivering on our promises. And the population of Guyana understands. We are a democratic government. We believe in the rule of law. We believe in transparency. We believe in governing for the people, because the people are those who chose us to represent them. So we are doing it for the people. We want to work with each and every section of society, which also includes civil society and, more importantly, the opposition. But we will not allow any section of society to disrupt our agenda. They will face the law, whatever means that we have to do legally to ensure that we continue to press on with our development agenda. We will do that, and we're not fearful. The charade that went on in Parliament today did not push us back. It did not stop us from carrying out the business of the people. We continued. We succeeded. We have both bills passed, and they will become law, and that will help to push our developmental agenda. We are pressing on. We are not looking backwards. We are looking forward. We have an agenda to pursue. We will deliver to the people, and we will continue to represent the people. We will continue to go to the House, National Assembly, to table our bills to ensure that we can deliver for the people. We are focused on the people. The distractions coming from the opposition is not going to stop the developmental agenda. It's going to affect how they are looked upon within society and by extension within the region and internationally. And I hope our brothers and sisters in the diaspora are looking on and seeing what's happening here in Guyana, and that they can report accurately on the disruption and how distasteful the opposition is in terms of helping to mold Guyana for a better future. We will press on, we will continue to deliver, and we will continue to stand right by the people.
Thank you very much, Hugh Todd. And viewers, I am sure we have demonstrated clear and as as clear as possible what a useless opposition that we have, and the quicker the people understand that and do not engage them is better for all. Let them go in a corner by themselves. The train, the developmental train of Guyana is traveling and it will continue to accelerate its speed. If they are not on board, well, that's a matter for them. Please come on board and let us take the train of Guyana towards the destination of success. I want to thank you very much for entertaining us at this late hour, but we thought it important to bring you up to speed with the latest developments taking place in our National Assembly. Thank you and good evening. And before we go, both on behalf of myself, Mr. Hugh Todd, our President, Vice President, and the entire government of Guyana, and the entire leadership of the People's Progressive Party, permit me to wish you and your family a very happy, healthy, and prosperous 2022. Thank you very much and good evening.
Take care.